Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I wanted to take the opportunity to lay out a bit of a brochure, if you will, for players returning to the Division 2 because of the imminently releasing TU15 update and Season 9, which if you didn't know is this Thursday, May 12th, less than 48 hours from when I'm releasing this video. It's pretty crazy. On my recent news breakdown videos going over the info dumps we received this week, I saw many comments of both people I had remembered from long ago and newcomers to my channel specifically who said that they had all been away from the game for quite a while and were returning specifically for this update, and I have a feeling that there are far more of you out there. And so I just wanted to provide some guidance on where to pick back up if you've been away from the game for a while, as well as where the new content we're receiving will fit in as far as our total content offerings in the game. So if that sounds useful to you, then let's just get right into it. Title Update 15 is the primary content portion of this content drop for the game, whereas Season 9 is going to provide overall structure for your experience over the next few months and offer lots of rewards and progress the game's story. Let's start with the title update itself first, and I'll circle back to the season and story implications in case you're worried about being too far behind in the story. TU15's main attractions are as follows. Countdown, which is a new 8-player PvE game mode which can be match made into and does not require voice communication to be beaten. It's going to offer lots and lots of loot, which we'll come back to. And the expertise system is a brand new progression system coming which functions not that dissimilarly from the SHD rank system that came with Warlords of New York expansion, if you played that. Except this time around, you're going to increase the power of your favorite weapons, gear, and builds rather than your overall character. There's also plenty of new gear, weapons, and loot that are primarily tied to Season 9 itself, but those are indeed coming, along with balancing changes, bug fixes, and all of that usual stuff. So, what does this mean for your gameplay experience? Well, the good news is that assuming that you own and have completed Warlords of New York, which I'm kind of assuming for this video, so definitely do that if you have not. The good news is that basically all of this content that is released since WONI has expanded the game horizontally instead of vertically, and TU15 is no exception. Basically everything the devs add to the game that's gameplay related is done in such a manner in which it's accessible to everybody. You don't need to make that vertical climb and complete a bunch of quests or explore different zones or do this and that and unlock stuff in order to have access to the new content. Everything is available to everyone. It's just whether or not you have the proper builds and tactics in order to tackle it. Now this often means that there are higher player populations in these different areas of content, which is great, but it also means that some things can blend together as far as their usefulness, and that's what I want to try and explain here. So, the countdown mode is being added to the game. That's great, but how relevant is it actually going to be? Well, good news, quite a bit. If you were familiar with the Division 1 at all, then you know that a lot of emphasis in the endgame was always placed on game modes, right? Stuff like Underground, Survival, Resistance, replayable modes that offered a longer span of enjoyment than just rerunning your typical main mission would. Well, for a long time, Division 2 didn't have those until the Summit was released back in TU11, roughly 3 major updates after the launch of WONI. So maybe some of you experienced it or maybe not. In my view, the Summit did absolutely scratch that replayability itch. It totally had a customizable experience in allowing you to pick your own difficulty, your own modifiers, and even your own loot that you wanted to target, as well as having a completely randomized encounter set as you climbed from floors 1 to 100 of this skyscraper. But it also had its shortcomings. For me, the biggest one was the environment. To this day, I find Summit's interior incredibly bland and not nearly as cool as it could be for its premise. Well, here's the good news. I think Countdown basically offers everything that Summit does, except better. It has a stunning environment with maybe even more loot than Summit does, being in quick 15-minute sessions. It still allows you to pick your own targeted loot, and it has its own currency system, which you can purchase additional rewards for back at the base of operation. So if you're somebody who's coming back to the game who has never made it past 250 or 500 SHD levels, let's say, then I fully recommend you try out Countdown, as I believe it's going to be an incredibly effective and fun method of farming gear compared to a lot of other content in the game. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to completely invalidate everything else, right? There's still reasons you'd want to run missions or bounties, maybe it's for a project or for your season progression, and Summit still retains a higher level of difficulty customization, of which Countdown has none, and I still think it might be the better destination if you have like one singular piece of gear in mind that you're trying to acquire. Like if I were trying to get a Fenris chest piece with specifically Unbreakable as the talent so that I could roll armor onto it, I would probably go to the Summit and apply a few directives because that increases my chance of targeted loot. But what I think Countdown is bringing to the game is a lot of replayability compared to everything else in the game, a lot of action and intensity. You're fighting in 8-player battles in these short 15-minute sessions, and it's probably going to offer you some of the best bulk loot in the game. You get enemies that drop random items, you get a guaranteed chest with 5 to 6 items per run, maybe a few other hidden ones you find along the way, and every hunter you fight, which can be anywhere from 4 to 10 or 12 depending on how many you choose to engage, drops a guaranteed named item. Not to mention that currency system I mentioned, which allows you to purchase even more focused rewards after you end a session. So, for anybody returning to the game and wondering what Countdown is bringing, I think it's going to serve as that true endgame hub of replayability and just fun PvE content. I encourage you to try it out, but still recognize that places like the Summit and other endgame content still certainly have their value to it. It all just depends on what you're trying to do. And again, you have no barriers to participating in Countdown. As long as you're level 40, it's available to you, and it's going to be a great way to get back into the game and earn lots of loot fast. Let's now shift over to expertise. As I mentioned earlier, the good news here is you don't really have to worry about it. As was stressed in the reveal stream the developers did this week, expertise is intended to be a passive progression system, something you'll rank up dynamically if you just go out and play, and whenever you choose to go back and take a look at it, you should have some upgrades you can apply. Now, this will change depending on where you were previously in the game. If you're somebody who took a break from the game after passing SHD level 1000 and having lots of builds and whatnot, then you might have reason to dedicate more attention to this system, as many current endgame veterans plan on doing. It also allows you to expedite your progression by donating duplicate items or materials, which is something that a veteran player is going to have more capacity for compared to a freshly level 40 player who needs to grow their arsenal and save up materials for recalibration and other purposes. What's nice overall, though, is that expertise layers adjacent to your SHG levels. You can gain ranks in both just by playing. And whenever you're ready to engage more directly with the system, the upgrades you earned via gameplay will be waiting for you to activate whenever you're ready. So there's no pressure to start doing it right away. Take your time, and whenever you're ready, you'll have more power to earn through the expertise system. Alright, now let's talk about Season 9 and what to expect there. Starting with the story, because the devs have emphasized that they're trying to tell a more direct and compelling story this time around. Depending on when you last played, you may remember different parts of the story, and the good news is that it was told to us that Season 9 is going to kick off with a cinematic that kind of recaps everything important you need to know heading into the new story, including the climactic events of the previous season's conclusion, which saw the demise of Fei Lao. Season 9 is going to directly address the characters' reactions to that, as well as give more context and further explain Fei's reasoning and motivation for her actions, and then go from there with wherever the story is headed. So there's really no need to worry about getting lost in the story. Season 9 is very much intended to bring everybody back together and restart things, considering it's been so long since the last development. As far as the actual content of the season, if you played any of the seasons 1 through 4, which I have to assume is the majority of you, then the overall structure is going to be pretty similar. You've got separate objectives to complete that progresses your story and overall manhunt progress towards uncovering the final prime target at the end of the season, as well as a more direct reward track and timeline of in-game events that layer on top of whatever other content you choose to be doing. So whether you end up playing Countdown, or you're going through a weekly invasion, or just doing the open world, you'll be gaining additional rewards as you rank up from the season reward track, giving you items like the new gear and new brand set, the new weapons, exotics, as well as just general loot caches. And then when events like global events pop up, you can activate those to change your gameplay experience, and in turn get even more rewards from those, including its own currency system, very similar to the Countdown one I explained, where you can purchase your own desired rewards. So clearly, the Division 2 does not shy away from giving you the opportunity at earning tons and tons of loot. The question is, how effectively can you tackle it all, and what experience are you trying to get from the game? Because the answers can range widely, but I certainly hope this video helped you in navigating that just a bit better, especially if you're returning to the game after a long break for this long-awaited update. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on the stuff I covered in this video. If you are a veteran who has continued to play the game, then please do leave any of your own advice or analysis on the new content as far as how a newer or returning player might want to tackle it. If you are returning, let me know if you have any questions. I hope all of this made sense and was helpful. And yeah, everybody, that's about all I've got. TU15 and Season 9 release in less than 48 hours from now, in the early hours of May 12th. So get ready. You know, it's going to be a wild ride, and we've been waiting for such a long time, so I'm super excited. That's going to do it for me today, though. Everybody, once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.